Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
I think it depends, doesn't it? It's probably the best example of the old scarf principle that we increasingly observe on the programme. It doesn't really matter what the facts are, it matters what colour scarf you're wearing. That's how you will determine your response to a given story, particularly in the arena of politics. You're not allowed to be consistent. You're not allowed to say, don't throw milkshakes at politicians, whether they're far-right demagogues or on the side of the angels. It's not a good thing to do. You have to, of course, when Joe Brand makes a joke about battery acid, you have to call for the police to get involved, but when you make a joke about picking up rifles and shooting each other, you have to be left alone, because to in any way question you would be political correctness gone mad. I mean, hypocrisy now is so ingrained in our public discourse that it's almost, for people like me, becoming hard to keep pointing it out. It's a bit like saying, oh, look, there's the sun in the sky. Oh, look, there's some massive hypocrisy from a public figure or a politician. It's quite insane. And opinion polls are, of course, in many ways the best example of this, because it doesn't matter where you sit on an issue. If an opinion poll that comes out that supports your position, you like it. And if an opinion poll comes out that doesn't support your position, you question the credibility of the opinion poll. I mean, some people take traditional polling even further and kind of cobble together analysis and pass it off as research. And, of course, the question that you ask people being polled can be very relevant as well to the answer that you get. There's a reason why polling in newspapers, although apparently independently commissioned, generally follows the editorial line that the newspaper has otherwise been promoting. Seriously, it's quite incredible, really, to reflect upon how much time we spend. I think we're pretty good on this programme. How much time we spend in the general media analysing polling that's been paid for by an organisation that miraculously sees its own editorial line enforced by the polling that they've paid for. But I think today's polling is really interesting and quite scary, and I don't know that anybody would say that, apart from, well, we'll find out. I mean, it certainly doesn't fit in with what I want to see, but maybe there's a certain bias in that it fits in with what I believe to be true. I think on this programme we have been lucky enough to be closer to the madness of Brexit than almost anywhere else in the British media, because what happens everywhere else is one of two things. Either people can say things that aren't true and not be challenged. It's why I can sometimes be incredibly irritating when I refuse to let people carry on talking, and I keep saying, no, you must answer that question, or you must acknowledge that what you've just said is not true. And I understand why some callers find it very upsetting, because we really do live in a country where you can be on Question Time and say something that's not true and not get interrupted. So you phone up this gob on a stick on LBC and just say the same sort of stuff, and then you get interrupted and in some ways embarrassed by the fact that you are wrong or being dishonest, and you're not allowed to get away with it on a mid-morning phone-in radio show, whereas famous people are allowed to get away with it on Question Time. I feel your pain, I really do, but I'm not going to change, obviously. So we've known from quite an early stage that people would eventually start turning around and saying, no, I don't mind if my child loses their job as long as we get our Brexit. And we know, because we've been doing it now for 3 years, that when you ask them what their Brexit looks like, the answer you get today bears no resemblance whatsoever to the answer that you would have got in 2016. And the answer that you would have got in 2016 bears no resemblance whatsoever to the answer that you would have got in 2017. And the answer that you would have got in 2017 bears no resemblance whatsoever to the answer that you would have got in 2018. And the answer that you would have got in 2018 about what does your Brexit look like bears no resemblance whatsoever to the answer that you're now going to get in 2019. Because the answer that you're going to get in 2019 is, well, we will definitely lose jobs, we will definitely have economic harm, we will definitely massively dilute our abilities to trade internationally, we will suffer, there will be pain, and we want it. That's where we are now. Now, people who listen to this programme with an open mind, which is the massive majority of them, although please, if you're one of the people that listens with a closed and or tiny mind, don't please don't think that I'm ungrateful for your dedication. If you listen to this programme with an open mind, you'll be utterly unsurprised by this. Not because I've predicted it at every turn, although I have, but because, more simply, you have heard people in this category. You have heard people saying, I don't mind if my child loses their job. You have heard people saying there will be economic damage. I voted for it. You have heard people saying I voted for no deal, despite the fact that the very phrase no deal didn't enter the public discourse until about October of 2016. You have heard people queue up on this programme to lie to themselves. And once you start lying to yourself, all bets are off as far as rational analysis goes. And that's why I've only been baffled by the numbers. How many people are going to undertake these contortions of corruption in order to seek to persuade themselves of something that they know not to be true? It reached something of an apotheosis with Andrea Leadsom a couple of weeks ago, when Andrea Leadsom publicly stated that people knew that they were going to lose their jobs, and they voted for that because the other side told them. And that is a moment of almost magical madness. What did you just say? And remember, she was in the running to be your next Prime Minister, chosen exclusively by these people up until last week. What did you just say? I said that people knew they were going to lose their jobs. They voted to lose their jobs because the other side, who we called liars and Project Fear, the people who actually voted for us, believed the people that we called liars, and that's why they voted for us. That's my big thing at the moment, trying to get that simple phenomenon into one neatly understood package, because it is utterly, utterly broken. They did what? They voted for you because they believed your opponents. Yes. Brexit. And now we come to this, and it is more important than most polling because the people polled, the percentage, obviously, from which they extrapolate the broader picture, these are the people who are choosing our next Prime Minister. These are the paid-up members of the Conservative Party. Nobody else has any say in this process whatsoever. If you voted for Brexit for more democracy, this is on you. If you voted for Brexit because you'd been persuaded that we didn't have accountability or transparency, I apologise, actually, this is not on you. This is on the people that lied to you. If you're not objecting and repenting, then it is on you. Because these are the numbers. Conservative Party members asked a variety of questions. Would you rather Brexit took place even if it caused Scotland to leave the United Kingdom? 63% said yes. 29% said no. So the Conservative and Unionist Party, 63% yes, 29% no. Second question. Would you rather Brexit took place even if it caused significant damage to the UK economy? 61% yes, 29% no. The Conservative and Unionist Party. The selectorate for your next Prime Minister. Next one. Would you rather Brexit took place even if it caused Northern Ireland to leave the United Kingdom? 59% yes, bye-bye Northern Ireland, 28% no. The weirdest one, and it's quite hard to have a value judgment on this if you sit where I do politically, would you rather Brexit took place even if it caused the Conservative Party to be destroyed? The paid-up members of the Conservative Party reply 54% yes, 36% no. Now, the lads are laughing their heads off, and I'm quite jealous. I wish I stopped feeling this so keenly, because that's hilarious, right up to the point where you realise they're choosing your next Prime Minister. Still laughing, lads? Yeah, they're still laughing. Fair enough. Maybe they're talking about something else and not listening to the programme in the production office. 17 minutes after 12 is the time. And then, because the point at which I say, what do you get in return for all this? And you say democracy, right, I presume, although that's the question I'll be asking after the break. Would you rather Brexit took place even if it caused Jeremy Corbyn to become Prime Minister? That's the only time they say no. the only thing that could be loosely described as democracy, the election of a Prime Minister. 39% say no, 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 and 51% say yes. I can't believe it. Conservative Party members would sacrifice the integrity of the United Kingdom and the existence of their own party for Brexit, but they'd rather call it off than see Jeremy Corbyn become Prime Minister. Now, I don't think anybody in this category is going to ring me. It's sadly, and I completely understand why, I wouldn't ring me either if I was in that category. You'd have to be possessed of skin so thick and intellect so small that you'd probably be closely related to an amoeba. However, if you voted to leave the European Union, and now the people choosing our next Prime Minister are happy to wave goodbye to the United Kingdom, they're happy to see significant damage to the UK economy, they're happy to see Northern Ireland leave the United Kingdom, and particularly if you're a Conservative supporter, they're happy to see the entire party get destroyed. Give me a call if you're pretty clear that they did not. These people do not speak for you. Even if you still want to leave the European Union. Leaving it on these terms, bye-bye Scotland, bye-bye Northern Ireland, bye-bye economic health, bye-bye Conservative Party. Give me a call, talk me through what the hell has happened. And if you are in this constituency, and you are confident and intelligent enough to have a conversation about it, what do you get in return? Okay, so on the debit side, there's the United Kingdom, the actual United Kingdom. The country you wanted to get back gets cut in half. Bye-bye Northern Ireland, bye-bye Scotland. Remember when you were going to get 350 million quid a week to spend on the NHS? Now you're getting significant economic damage, okay? And the party that you support, or the party that you're a member of, it's worth destroying it to get this thing called Brexit. So those are all on the debit side. They're on one side of the scales. Just give me a call. I'm asking you for the millionth time, what's on the other side of the scales? What do you get that makes it all worthwhile? 0345 6060 973.
The sound and fury on the airwaves between the Conservative contenders will, as we keep hearing, come down to a choice that will ultimately be made only by Tory members around the country. We think we know these people. The average age over 50, generally white, generally affluent, and we assume generally Boris Johnson facing. Is that actually true? James Clayton went to talk to some of them.
It's 4 p.m. on a rainy Monday afternoon and West Suffolk Conservatives are meeting for their weekly gathering.
First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Christine?
The meeting might seem a little pedestrian at times, but these Conservative members now exercise enormous power. Around 160,000 Conservatives, that's smaller than the population of West Suffolk, will choose our next Prime Minister. So who are they, and more importantly, what do they think? Fortunately, Queen Mary's University has polled Conservative Party members with some fascinating results. Let's take 100 Conservative Party members. About 20% of them are from the South East compared to just 14% of the population. The membership is relatively old, about 40% are over 65. 97% classify themselves as white British. A quarter of Conservative Party members are also members of the National Trust, and 5% of Conservatives are Freemasons, about 10 times the national average. They're also disproportionately wealthy. A third of the membership earn more than £50,000 and so would benefit from Boris Johnson's plan to raise the 40% tax rate.
When it comes to the economy, we have seen a definite cooling on austerity on the part of Conservative Party members since we've been polling them since 2015. So a lot more of them now think that spending cuts are either about right or have gone a bit too far. But they're certainly not keen on the idea that government should be redistributing wealth and income from the rich to the poor. And that, I think, probably reflects both their ideology and the fact that most of them themselves are fairly comfortably off and they don't want to lose that wealth.
Over 90% of members think people who break the law should be given stiffer sentences. A sign perhaps that admissions of previous drug taking won't go down too well with the party faithful. And 63% believe in the death penalty for some crimes. 4/5 of the party believe the UK was right to vote to leave the EU in 2016. And 64% believe leaving the EU without a deal will be positive for the UK economy in the medium to long term. At least half of all members do not see a need for more female MPs, disabled MPs, young MPs, gay MPs or ethnic minority MPs. 82% do not see a need for more Muslim MPs. And one more thing, out of those 100 people, just 30 would be women. It wasn't always like this.
The Tory party without women would be as unthinkable as Blackpool without rock.
The party has a strong tradition of appealing to women. Its women's organisation was once 1 million strong.
There's no doubt that the older, more traditional ladies see in Mrs. Thatcher, perhaps a little to their own surprise, a tangible hope for the party to get back into government.
Research shows that previously Conservative Party membership was split pretty much evenly, 50-50. For some inside the party, the fact that the new Prime Minister will predominantly be chosen by men isn't necessarily viewed as a problem.
No, I don't think it's a problem. It's our membership of the party. We're united by our shared values and the policies that we want to see. So we will all be looking at it through that prism rather than a lens about gender.
Back in West Suffolk, I wanted to find out whether that view on the party's gender imbalance was held by other Conservatives.
So first of all, who thinks it matters? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a good majority of you thinks it matters.
I personally think it's worrying, and I worry about it, because obviously if you're going to represent a country, you've got to represent the people who are in that country. So therefore it's very important.
You know, we're all Conservatives around the table, aren't we? Sometimes things get a little bit too political correct. And, you know, you try and make sure that it's 50-50 this, 50-50 that.
Every organisation would love to have a fully representative make-up of its market, effectively. But you can't wish that, you can't demand that.
The Conservative Party are really hot on law and order. Michael Gove's admitted to using cocaine, Boris Johnson we're not sure about, Jeremy Hunt cannabis, etc. Do you think that matters at all? Put your hands up if you think that matters. None of you.
It matters. Things like that are obviously a concern, but everyone is far more understanding nowadays, and with the latest revelations from some of the candidates, that's another life. And in fact, we want people to come from different backgrounds, to have different experiences.
What the person represents now and his background and what he brings to the table is really important. And one thing that he did when he was a student or 20 years old doesn't mean everything.
Like many associations, West Suffolk Conservatives has seen an uptick in members joining in recent months. In the last year, the Conservative Party has attracted 36,000 people to the party. Now, we don't know what they think because they weren't included in the polling that we've used, but from our research, ringing up local Conservative associations, we think they're mostly former Conservatives coming back to the Conservative Party of a more UKIP-y persuasion.
The Conservative Party conference is above all a self-satisfied assembly with its own moral pace.
The current Conservative Party membership of 160,000 is way off what it once was. The great irony is that in one of its smaller incarnations, the party faithful are taking their biggest ever decision.
And I think I just popped into the production office, the people on the other side of the glass, and I'm delighted to say that their hilarity at the state of the nation has proved somewhat infectious. It is almost hilarious. And as one of my colleagues pointed out, I've been saying now for 2 years, they will stop at nothing to avoid having to admit that they'd made a mistake. So you've gone in 3 years from claiming that you were going to be better off to claiming that significant damage to the UK economy is worth it. I mean, how do you analyse this? Oh, well, I knew all along we'd be poorer and Scotland would leave the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland would. That's what I voted for. You categorically didn't. Prove it. Well, I can't prove it. I can't retrospectively read your mind, but you know you're lying, and that's why you're so angry. It's insane. 63% of Conservative members, and remember, they're the people choosing the Prime Minister, would be happy to see Scotland leave the United Kingdom if it meant that Brexit took place. 61% happy to see significant damage to the UK economy. Well, good news, lads, your dreams are going to come true. Northern Ireland, bye. Conservative Party destroyed. Yeah, I suspect some of us could probably live with that. Jeremy Corbyn becoming Prime Minister, hell no. That's not what we mean when we say we want more democracy. Make sense of this for me if you can. I can't anymore. James is in Crawley. James, what's going on?
Hi, James, first-time caller.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Well, I've got to be honest, I'm a Brexiteer.
We don't use that word on this programme, sorry.
Very sorry for that. Okay, I voted to leave, but I didn't vote to leave to break up the United Kingdom, and I certainly don't have problems with immigration or anything like that. And I can't understand these people. Why would they vote to break up, the whole of the UK? It's crazy. And the more I listen to you, I've got to say, the more I'm coming on your side.
Well, it's economic damage as well that they're saying is a price worth paying. Remember, significant damage to the UK economy, 61%. Yeah, we'll have a bit of that.
Yeah, no, it does.
What did you... I'm not going to have a fight with you, because it's not what this hour is about. I'm desperately trying to get a handle on what's going on, because, these people are choosing the Prime Minister. It is this constituency to which he must... it is all he's now, isn't it? Yes, to which he must most appeal. And so I won't haul you over the coals, but what did you think you were going to get? What did you vote for?
I voted to leave because I was fed up with 27, 28 other countries trying to come to a decision, never coming to sort of anything substantial unless it was a watered-down version of laws or whatever.
That's just not true. I'm not going to hold you, but we've got 81 full trade agreements in place as a union, as a European Union, and several hundred more treaties and agreements with 61 different countries. And if we leave on October the 31st with no deal, we'll have absolutely nothing in place.
No, I know, and that's crazy.
Where did you get, and I promise I'm not having a pop, but where did you get the idea that what you just said was true, that somehow because it's the opposite of what I normally hear. What I normally hear is there's too many laws, there's too many powers, and now you're telling me there wasn't enough. It was too hard to get stuff through. There wasn't enough. So I'm interested in where, and this is no criticism, I promise, but where would you point to as your primary sources?
I guess some of it is perception, some of it's through the media.
And yet everyone else I've spoken to who voted to leave thought that the European Union was far too powerful. You thought that its legislative powers were too weak.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah,
no, fair enough. As I said, I'm not going to pick any fights this hour. Well, no, I can't make that promise, obviously, but I'm not going to pick a fight with James. So if you got another vote and it was made pretty clear that leaving with no deal would eventually mean Scotland bye-bye, significant damage to the economy, Northern Ireland bye-bye, how would you vote next time?
Well, I definitely wouldn't vote to leave.
That'll do. 12:27 is the time. See, this is the problem. I'm only going to get calls from reasonable people who voted leave, because if you voted leave and you are now claiming that all of this was on the table, not only are you lying, but more importantly, you're lying to yourself. What's that Dostoevsky quote? So I'll get it for you at the minute. It's at the front of my book, actually. 27 after 12. Andy's in the Forest of Dean. Andy, what would you like to say?
Hello. First-time caller.
You're very welcome.
Well, basically, I've got a school friend who is an ardent card-carrying Tory voter.
Yes.
But he's also a gay man and lives in South Wales.
Right.
And I daily point out to him what he's voting for, i.e. the homophobic comments that Boris Johnson made.
Well, he called your friend, not specifically, but generally, I think, a bum boy in a tank top. I apologise retrospectively if anyone finds that offensive, but that's what your next Prime Minister said.
Yes, and I was told that was a lefty conspiracy.
Fake news.
And then I pointed out that he's on record as defending these comments, or attempting to defend them, and he's purely everything now is it doesn't matter as long as I get Brexit.
And what does he think Brexit will be? Because I'm not entirely mad about
sovereignty. That's all it ever is, sovereignty.
But what does he think sovereignty means?
You can't get a straight answer on that. I point out that we always have been a sovereign nation, and always will be, and that doesn't matter. He's got it into his head that we're going to. It doesn't matter if we're worse off, if the union breaks, anything, as long as he gets Brexit.
And when we say sovereignty, I'm just, and obviously we are now both in the same business of speculating about the motivations of people that we just can't understand. But and I've asked 100 people what they mean by sovereignty, and none of them know. I think I know what they mean by sovereignty, and what perhaps they're too embarrassed embarrassed to say so. Try this on for size and see if it fits your friend. And in many ways, I hope it doesn't, because I'm insufferable enough as it is when it comes to this issue. I think what they really revolt against and what they really resent is the fact that this institution means that we are equal to French people and German people and Polish people and Romanian people. And we are senior partners, I think, objectively speaking. But in the context of legislation, it's a question of equality. There's no exceptionalism. It doesn't allow, well, we're English, therefore we're better, or in your friend's case, we're British or Welsh, therefore we're better. That's all I've got left now, Andy. Do you think that fits your mate or not?
To a degree, yes, I think there's a sort of colonialism that they're harping back to. I ask him what he means by sovereignty. He just says, well, the top 2-3 leaders of the EU are not directly voted for by him.
No, but nor is the Secretary of State for Defence, or the Secretary of State for Health, or the Secretary of, or the Chancellor of the Exchequer, or the Foreign Secretary.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just blind.
Or the Prime Minister, of course.
Yes, if the Tories don't fit the bill, as with May, then you lurch to the Brexit Party.
Well, of course you do, because the alternative is to admit that you've been conned, or to admit that you were wrong, or to admit that you were racist. And, of course, the final option there allows you to admit that you were racist without actually having to admit that you were a racist. Oh, boy. Here's the quote from the brothers Karamazov. Above all, don't lie to yourself. The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lie comes to a point that he cannot distinguish the truth within him or around him, and so loses all respect for himself and for others. And having no respect, he ceases to love. If you want to know what it looks like when someone loses all respect for himself and for others, just have a look at Twitter. How can, and sentient, decent, honest people, and I use those words a little more, perhaps, cautiously than I would have done previously, but we're talking about members of the Conservative Party, so I know a lot of you will already object to that description. But how can 63% of Conservative members value Brexit, which they can't describe, as being, well, something so valuable to them that they don't mind Scotland leaving the United Kingdom? Brexit being something so valuable to them that they don't mind significant damage to the UK economy. Ditto Northern Ireland. I just want to know what's on the other side of the scales. What do you get in return for these prices? Because these are costs, right? Nobody wants this, but it's a price worth paying. And they're answering these questions in the 60s, 59%, 63%, 61%. Peter is in Finchley. Peter, can you make sense of it?
Yes, good afternoon. I think I certainly can. And I'm rather distressed you're so often economical with the truth.
Okay.
Why? Firstly, you keep on saying that people will be happy if Scotland and Ireland are left the United Kingdom.
Well, let's go with the phrase I just used. Let's go with price worth paying.
Let's talk. You said they would be happy. I don't know. I didn't see the poll. I don't know what the question was. I very much doubt if people who responded said they would be happy.
Well, the exact question is, would you rather Brexit took place even if it caused this scenario? So I'm happy to use whatever words you want. So let's just...
No, but you've used the word happy.
Well, I'm happy to not use it. So let's not talk...
Well, you've done the damage now, because a lot of your listeners have taken that on board.
OK, so here are two choices. No, Peter, I'm sorry, mate. I've tried to accommodate your complaint. I've said we don't have to use the word happy if you want. Now I'm going to explain why I used the word happy. Here are two choices. One is the choice that you make, and one is the choice that you don't make. What is your choice? Choice X, therefore, I used the word happy to describe the thing that you want. Now, I'm perfectly happy to say they're going to be really, really unhappy, but they still want it. So you're now telling me I should have said people are voting to be unhappy.
No.
Yes.
What I'm saying...
Because you can't say happy.
I was merely correcting you.
Well, I'm now correcting you. Are these people going to be unhappy? Are these people going to be unhappy?
I think they may be unhappy.
Well, then let's say that then. It's even madder than it was before. They're voting to be unhappy. Now, tell me what they get in return.
Let me finish, please.
I am.
You're not.
Oh, why do we always have to do this?
White people might have voted the way they do is because the future for the European Union may be far more bleak than you're painting it. The unemployment rate for young people in many of the countries is extraordinarily high and going to get higher.
Yeah.
Well, well, is that a fact or not?
No. When it says significant damage to the UK economy, that question means it will be significant damage to the UK economy as a result of leaving the European Union.
There may be damage on the short term.
Where do you get short term from, Mr. Pedant must use the right words?
Well, it's short term. Probably, well, unfortunately, most politicians in this country only...
No, where do you get short term from? Because I know how strict you are about using the correct words.
I said maybe. Maybe.
So maybe, and so it may be forever.
It's unlikely to be forever.
Where do you get your confidence from?
Because an old man, I've seen booms and busts. I've seen lots of things go wrong, and some things go right. And they can go right.
Yes. So why does 61% of Conservative Party members consider significant damage to the UK economy a price worth paying for Brexit? Because it can't have anything to do with thinking that staying in will be worse economically.
The damage being done to the UK economy staying in European Union.
Oh, mate, I can't listen. I can only explain it to you. I can't understand it for you. This question. No, I know that if you understand it, you have to abandon a lifetime of conviction. But let me at least try to explain it to you.
Not a lifetime of conviction.
Well, you just brought your age into the equation for reasons I don't really understand.
The first referendum...
No, listen, Peter, pay attention, all right? This is important. It might not be too late for you. When they say they would rather Brexit took place, even if it caused significant damage to the UK economy, they are categorically stating that the economic situation would be worse than if we stayed in the European Union. So you can't say, oh, the way to understand this is because they think that the economic situation will be worse if we stay in the European Union. You are now literally arguing on national radio that black is white. So we'll try again. What do they get in return for economic damage? What's the benefit?
Well, I don't think there will be economic damage, personally.
Oh, my God. So you've rung in to explain the thinking of the people who are happy to accept economic damage by saying that you don't think there will be any. Did you just hear yourself?
I don't think there will be.
Well, you can't keep repeating it. It doesn't make what you're saying any more sensible. I'm asking you to explain the mindset of people who are not happy, but prepared to accept significant economic damage to the UK economy in return for Brexit. Do you understand why saying that you don't think there will be any is not an answer to the question that I'm asking?
Trying to answer on their behalf...
That's what you rang in to do. At the beginning of the call, you said, I can do this, I can make sense of this. You can't answer this question by saying...
For many people...
Oh, Peter.
For many people... Money is not the ultimate goal in life.
No.
What
is it, do you think?
They accept that there's sometimes we may go through economic problems, but...
Yeah, so what do they get in return?
Well, they get in return, hopefully, if we have decent leadership...
Now, you can't use words like hopefully and decent if I'm not allowed to use the word happy.
What we get is a responsive government to the people of the United Kingdom. And they're not a responsive government at the moment.
In what way?
They don't respond to the true needs of the people.
For example? So the true needs of the people will be better met after significant damage to the UK economy?
They could be. They could be.
So you think we'll be able to meet the needs... I just know... Hang on, because I know how important words are to you. You think that we'll be able to do a better job of looking after the people in this country if we're poorer?
No, I think we'll do a better job... socially, morally, and in many other respects.
Could you give me an example?
We're not in the European
Give me an example, could you?
Yes, sir. Well, I'll take a simple example.
Yes.
Housing. In 1997, the population of this country was 54 million.
Are we going immigration?
I'm not against immigrants. I'm against...
Immigrants who live in houses. Just the ones that live in houses.
Pardon?
Just the ones that live in houses you've got a problem with?
No, that's a stupid thing.
So why are you talking about houses then?
Because when we had a population of 54 million, and it was declining,
yes,
because the birth rate wasn't high enough,
yes,
then we would have been forced, or the employers would have been forced, to employ modern production techniques, not rely
But you're
on
here
cheap
to
labour.
defend significant damage to the UK economy. You can't say we'll be able to pay for modern production techniques as a result of significant damage to the UK economy.
We could stop spending what we are spending with the European Union.
Yes, as you well know, we take a lot more in commerce and trade. Oh, Peter. Okay. And the economic analysis that paints that as plausible comes from where? Because I know that every impact assessment undertaken by the actual government portrays the polar opposite position to the one you described.
Honestly, with the governments that we've had, the load of dopeheads that we've had of recent years, I don't think they can negotiate.
So which politicians do you like, Peter?
Well, quite honestly, I think, as I said, I think they're all dopeheads.
Okay.
I think we could do with a complete change.
Yes.
And right across the board, I think there are too many people who are influenced by the drugs that they've taken.
Okay. I'd like to say this conversation had taken a surreal turn, but I suspect it started on that tip. So just to be clear, you blame the state of British politics on the drugs that the politicians have taken?
And many others, yes.
Yes, okay.
Well, look at the...
No, I can't take any more of this. Stop it. It's 12:45. I thought I might have pushed it a little bit far, but Theo Usherwood is in the studio. We'll be joining him in a moment. I just said to him, there'll be someone on text or Twitter claiming I just got owned by that poor fella on before, and then I couldn't find one, and unfortunately I've only got a mobile phone number which I'm not allowed to give out. If it was a Twitter name I could say that person heard what you just heard and decided to tweet, ha ha, James gets owned, in capital letters with 8 exclamation marks. And listen, you can laugh if you want, but you're not allowed to be surprised that people are now saying bye-bye Scotland, bye-bye Northern Ireland, bye-bye economy, Brexit's worth it, without being able to tell you why Brexit's worth it, because these are the people. It's them with their 5 exclamation marks and their capital letters and their single-figure IQs. Daniel's in Halstead. You're keeping Theo Usherwood on pause, Daniel, so use your time wisely.
Well, I'll be as quick as possible then. I just wanted to say I represent quite a small proportion of the population of young Conservative, and what I find absolutely astounding about this poll is that the issue, so the complete break-up of devolution and the loss of Scotland and Northern Ireland and the significant damage to the UK economy. But
we'll be getting our country back.
Well, exactly. I'm on the same side as you as this. I think those factors, that would damage the UK, is what many Conservatives would believe would come with a...
Well, that's what I thought, and I'm not. I mean, I don't know if you know or not. I'm not a Jeremy Corbyn fan. I lean mostly to a sort of liberal centrist agenda in some areas. I'm clearly, if you're a paid-up member of the Conservative Party, I'm more left-wing than you are. But I can still respect some Conservative values, or what used to be considered Conservative values, and this polling plus the imminent election of Boris Johnson seems to me to represent a complete abandonment of what I used to think the Conservative Party cared about.
Well, exactly. I joined because I believed it was the party of fiscal responsibility. But now when you see 59% of Conservative members are willing to trash the UK, or 61%, sorry, willing to trash the UK economy in favour of this failed project, I've started thinking, I've been thinking for a long time now, since sort of the Brexit debate started, whether maybe the Lib Dems or somewhere like that was more of a place for me. Because...
Well, what's happened to your party? Is it just Brexit's bent their brains?
I honestly, I don't know, because I've sort of had issues for a while now, even though I joined under Cameron, I had issues for a while now with the sort of universal credit and, you know, fiscal responsibility is one thing, but once you see reports that it's led to over 130,000 unnecessary deaths, you really have to question yourself, what is the point of...
Some people might now be suspecting that you're a ringer, you see, with this analysis of universal credit. You're not really a Conservative member at all. In fact...
obviously, there's no way of proving it.
No, I know. I'm just telling you how the madness works. It's the same place where I just got owned by the last bloke, mate, so don't read too much into the criticism. That phrase there, fiscal responsibility, is the nub of it, Daniel, because I can disagree with you about whether or not the Conservatives are the only party that can deliver fiscal responsibility. But I can't disagree with you that historically they've always claimed that fiscal responsibility is one of the main reasons why you should vote for them, which is how I cannot begin to comprehend how 61% of them can be saying that significant damage to our economy is a price worth paying, although in Peter's interest, no one's saying they're going to be happy about this thing that they want. It would be a price worth paying for Brexit. I don't get it. I don't think I ever will, and I don't think you do either.
No, not at all. I think it's lunacy. Probably would be the best word for it.
That's a Conservative member speaks. 12:53. Thea Washwood is here. Oh, Thea.
Should we run through what's going to happen tonight, James? Sajid Javid is looking very vulnerable.
Is he?
He's going badly with Rory Stewart is trying to nab his votes, ringing up his supporters, or his aides are ringing up his supporters, and trying to pitch him, Rory Stewart that is, as something different, to which Nick King, who is of course a supporter of former special advisor to Sajid Javid, has said that Sajid's dad was an immigrant. He went to the local comp school and the further education college. Rory went to Eton and Balliol, just like
This is the curse
Boris.
of how on earth does he think that a party poised to elect Boris Johnson is going to be, well, let us be kind and say, even vaguely impressed by his immigrant status and his Muslim family background. Johnson is appealing very knowingly to people who find both of those obnoxious.
But nevertheless, yes, for Rory Stewart, he's trying to make himself the change candidate, the insurgent candidate, and he has spooked Team Boris because they really want to knock him out, either in this round or
Why?
the next
Because the
round.
membership aren't going to go for him.
Because there is a fear within the Boris camp that this becomes about last man standing over the course of 4 weeks. And if Rory Stewart is in there as one of his team put it to me, as a kamikaze pilot who is willing to say anything, it becomes
to bring down, but to stop. But I don't quite understand this. I'm not doubting you. I'm just admitting to a lack of comprehension.
Well, we saw what happened in 2016 between Andrea Leadsom and Theresa May.
Yes.
Where Andrea Leadsom made those comments, and Theresa May we ended up with a coronation. And there is a fear within the Boris Johnson campaign because he can't do the below the radar campaign that he's run with the MPs, where he hasn't done any media appearances with the membership. So he's going to have to serve.
Do the most damage. I still can't see any circumstances in which the people responsible for the polling we've been discussing since 12 o'clock are going to vote for Rory Stewart.
But the MPs might take it out of their hands. There just has to be. You could end up in a situation where Boris just has to quit the race because it becomes for the parliamentary party. It becomes so difficult to support Boris Johnson in Parliament.
Okay, I think I understand. So then I saw it suggested last night that some of the Boris Johnson's people might actually be encouraging their own supporters to vote for Jeremy Hunt.
Yes, because they see Boris.
They see control, so much democracy.
They see Jeremy Hunt as a low energy.
I see him as an easy beat.
Easy beat, yeah. Whereas
easy beats. That's what I'm going to call my next compilation.
Whereas Rory Stewart is unpredictable, Michael Gove is unpredictable, and so in this round tonight we're seeing Dominic Raab.
Raab. Oh, there we go.
So there was a.
Raab's people, and I'm sure this isn't official, they've put up that little clip of when he had a go at me on Ian Dale's show. I was at home eating tea. I didn't even know it was happening. And it said, what a lovely reminder of the time Dominic Raab took on at Mr. James O'B. I wasn't even there, and he's blocked me on Twitter. But Dominic Raab supporters think that that's how you take... It's just embarrassing that I've had 3.7 million views for my little catalogue of things that Dominic Raab actually said. How's he getting on?
So Dominic Raab was the focus in that Channel 4 debate of the attention of, because of his differing position from Jeremy Hunt, Michael Gove and Sajid Javid. And if you looked at that debate, that you could have thought that there would be a moment where Boris Johnson wouldn't want to face the same fate if it was just him within the within this television debate tonight afterwards. But if you then look at what Mark Francois has said and what Steve Baker has said in terms of it would be unacceptable to them for Boris Johnson to go back to Brussels in the summer and try and renegotiate the withdrawal agreement, therefore there is a danger for Boris Johnson that he would be out-Brexited by Dominic Raab in tonight's debate, and so they're going to want to get rid of him tonight as well in the vote, so that he doesn't make that television debate.
I mean, you're talking as if... Oh, I see, because Boris Johnson might lose the support of people that...
Exactly.
He's told so many people two completely different things. You've had I can't say his name without giggling, Mark Francois turning up on telly going blah, 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 blah. And then on the other hand, he's also convinced some people that he definitely wouldn't leave with no deal under any circumstances. Back to Mark Francois, blah, 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 blah.
So you don't want to give Boris's campaign doesn't want to give Mark Francois
blah, 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 blah.
or Steve Baker or any other members of the ERG,
Brexit hardman Steve Baker,
any reason to switch sides to Dominic Raab if they were to point out something that they thought Boris Johnson had told Robert Buckland, for example. He's a Solicitor General.
All right, so if you had to put a few quid on it, if you had to put your dinner money on it, you think Javid's out and everyone else is still in?
And Raab's out.
You think Raab's out?
Javid, on the basis of that, Raab is now out.
Just strictly as someone who thinks we need more comedy in politics, I'd like to see Raab hang on for a little bit longer.
And Gove is vulnerable.
Really?
Michael Gove is vulnerable. It just depends on how many supporters Rory Stewart can get.
And are we confident Stewart's got 33?
It's looking that way at the moment. It's not definite, it's not nailed on, but it's looking as if...
Is there any chance that none of them will get 33 except Johnson? I know it's mathematically possible. How shocked would you be?
Yeah, I mean, it would be extraordinary.
Yeah, and then it would be extraordinary, mate, but we're living in a country where 61% of the Conservative membership would be happy to wave goodbye to Northern Ireland, which I believe Sheila Fogarty is going to be talking about
all afternoon.
All afternoon.
Yeah.
What do we want? We want our country back. What's it going to look like? Considerably smaller than it used to.
English and small.
But fish and sovereignty and blue passports. We haven't gone down that road for a while. Do you know, people laughed at me when I said all you'll be left with eventually is the blue passports. Well, they're not laughing now.